Ghost in the Night with Phil Sams. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ghost in the Night, a Hauntings and Paranormal podcast. This is episode 110, and I am joined, as always, or for number two, Dose, Travis, who is my new co-host. We are talking Annabelle, the infamous doll that it was made popular by the Warrens. What do you know about Annabelle?
Oh, man. First off, she's not nearly as terrifying as the movie depicted her to be.
Exactly.
That's the number one problem for me, is I'm like, I get it. The reality was not that scary, man, but good God.
Yeah. Well, Annabelle was, the movie made it out to be a creepy, super creepy, scary looking.
Like the porcelain face doll. Yeah.
Doll, but in actuality, it was just a Raggedy Ann doll. Mm-hmm. And for those of you young people that don't know what a Raggedy Ann doll is, it's just a stuffed doll.
It's the least intimidating doll ever created.
But Annabelle was made popular by the Warrens. Well, that was their not first case, but that was one of their cases but it really gained popularity with the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
And they really brought Annabelle to the surface, and we talked about this earlier. It was pretty much just thrown in there for no apparent reason.
Yeah, because it had nothing to do with the story that the Conjuring's about.
Exactly. But the history of the doll is something very interesting, and we're going to talk about today. But before we get that rolling, let's take care of a little bit of business. Don't forget, after this episode is finished, we're done recording, we are going to do the bonus Patreon edition, where we're going to continue to talk about Annabelle a little, but we are going to move more into the Warrens and their legacy, essentially, what they were all about, whether or not there is some controversy surrounding the Warrens. They, are they on the up and up? Were they money hungry? That kind of stuff. But don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at @night_ghost. And if you want to get that bonus Patreon feature, you just need to go to patreon.com/GITN Podcast and become a patron. $2 gets you that episode and all the other extra footage and extra bonus episodes and bonus investigations that we have on there. So just become a patron and you can do that. And we actually have a patron shout out tonight.
We do.
I'll let you do the honors.
It's a shout out to Sydney. Thank you, Sid, for your Patreon pledge.
And that goes along with every Patreon pledge. You do get a shout out live on the live feed. So whenever not only do you just get the bonus extra footage, you get a shout out. And then we haven't quite worked out all the tiers. There are other tiers involved that go up, and we're working out kind of the bonus feature stuff, extra stuff that you get. But I think the next tier up is $5 and you get a sticker, plus the shout out and everything you get with the other tier. But that's how that works. So be sure to help out the podcast and get that bonus material. Another way to help out the podcast is to go to our Spreadshirt account. It's just go to shop.spreadshirt.com/GITN-paranormal-merch, and there you can get paranormal t-shirts like the one I'm wearing, and that would go a great way to help us advance this podcast and get it out. But most importantly, I think this is the most important part. If you know somebody that's interested in the paranormal, be sure to share it with them. Like the social media accounts, share these. If you're on Facebook, share this live feed. It stays up for a while. This stays up the whole time, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking about not leaving them up the whole time and eventually taking out, but be sure to share them. If you listen to us via the podcast feed, Stitcher, iTunes, or not iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Google Podcast, they change these names.
Yeah, all the time.
iHeartRadio, Spotify. Be sure to like, subscribe, and do all that. Leave us a review. That would be very helpful in moving the podcast forward. So let's get into Annabelle. Now, there's so many inconsistencies with this story.
Yeah. Which is the only consistent thing about the Warrens.
Right. This story, we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
There's so many different versions. Then even the name of it was two nurses. One mother gave her daughter this Raggedy Ann doll because she liked dolls.
Yeah.
She had a roommate, and the roommate had a boyfriend / fiance / just friend. That's where things get a little. There's some. The details are really murky on this because you're getting the Warren side of things, and then the movie. And I noticed this. The movie kind of play because they opened up the movie, The Conjuring, with telling how the interview process that the Warrens did when they talked to these 3 people. But and even the timeline, I think the Conjuring movie said 1968.
I haven't actually watched it in a while, but I mean, it sounds about right.
Yeah, because I
remember the scene and it was very
dark and gloomy and awesome.
Yeah.
But in my research, I heard 1970 from a couple different sources. It happened in the 1970 that this happened. Now, like we said earlier, it was a Raggedy Ann doll that the mother had given them. They lived in an apartment complex or apartment building, I should say. The one girl and even her name, I've heard Donna, I've heard Debbie. I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, everywhere you go, there's little indiscrepancies,
right? And this
on everything, no matter where you're looking.
And that is one of the big issues with the internet age. Everybody kind of puts their spin to it a little bit, and it makes it kind of murky to go through this and really understand what's going on with this particular case. But immediately strange things started happening. She kept this doll on the bed, from the way I understand it, and she would place it a certain way, and when she'd come home, and another thing, I heard nursing students, then I heard just nurses. So I don't even know.
Yeah, I heard both.
I don't know whether they were students or actual nurses or whatever, but it's really irrelevant to the story, I guess. But she would come home from either school or work, and the doll would be, the arms and legs would be positioned differently than what she left them. Now, this in itself does not prove anything because people have horrible memories.
And there's also the fact that that's a very minuscule detail, unless you're that OCD that you're putting that doll exactly a certain way.
Like I've left my keys. I always leave my keys by the front door, but sometimes I leave them. I have that little desk by the TV. Sometimes they're there. Yeah. Now I try to be consistent, but it doesn't mean a ghost or a spirit or a demon took my keys and moved them from one table to the desk.
Right.
I didn't really pay attention because we don't focus a lot on the details a lot. Now, once this happens repeatedly, then I think probably she becomes a little bit more. And that sounds like what she...
And once it escalated to the point where the doll's physically moving to a different location, which that's where I start chiming in of, barring this all being a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
That's where I chime in with the, there you go. Because I find it hard to believe that somebody's going to walk in and notice that the doll's arm is in a different angle on the bed.
Right.
Unless like I said, you were just absolutely batshit crazy OCD.
Exactly. Now it did escalate. The doll started being put in different rooms, ending up in different rooms. Now that is, I lend a little bit more credibility to that because that's, if it's repeated, I mean, sure, if you get to a point where you're putting it on the bed all the time, you keep it on the bed and it ends up in the living room or the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something in itself. But
and you're not talking about a house with kids in it either. So it's two adult women. Like you're not going out of your way and playing with this doll on a regular basis.
Now, as things started to escalate, one night the girls and the roommate, like we said, I don't know what I heard. Fiance, I heard boyfriend, could just be a friend. So we'll just say friend, boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah, the first thing I heard and read was just friend.
Right. And one thing I listened to said his name was Cal, and then I heard Al or Hal or something.
I don't even recall. I'm sure there was a name in there, but I don't even recall a name that I can remember.
But where things started to get really kind of creepy, one night they came home, all 3 of them came back to this apartment, and apparently Annabelle, now they didn't know, we'll get to how Annabelle got her name here in a minute. They saw the doll, we'll say, Raggedy Ann, kneeling in the living room. Yeah. Now this is kind of weird because this is a stuffed doll. It doesn't have joints.
That's weird.
That's weird. And they even acknowledged that's weird. And from all my research said they even they picked it up and tried to recreate it.
Yeah.
Make the doll kneel.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. So that's, okay, things are starting to happen. And
yeah, this doll just chooses when it has a skeletal structure.
yeah, and once they kind of, things started to escalate like this, they decided to, I guess one of them knew a psychic medium, and they brought, I believe it was a woman, brought her in, and she, from what I understood, from what I took it, kind of got the sense of a little girl, 7-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And she identified this little girl as Annabelle Higgins.
Yep.
Who had died. Now, I heard lived and died on that property. I believe didn't you hear something about a car crash?
No, not with that one.
Okay.
I just heard, all I read that I didn't see anything about whether or not she lived there. I just saw the little girl named Annabelle Higgins apparently or supposedly died there. I mean, again, there's no hardcore records to back that up.
Now, where this kind of makes sense is apparently, the Annabelle Higgins was not attached to this doll, and I want to get into that about doll attachments and things like that as we go on. But at this point, Annabelle was not attached to the doll. She just, being a 7-year-old girl, liked the doll.
Yeah.
And apparently, she was lonely and she was playing with the doll. And as this psychic medium expressed this story to the ladies, and the guy was there, I believe, at the time, they kind of sympathized with Annabelle.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
which, okay.
I mean, little girls are adorable and all that shit, but no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you tell me I've got a doll and it's got a ghost attached to it or a spirit of any sort, no, I'm not. They literally said, like, oh, it's okay. If you're not going to hurt us, you can stay here.
Right.
No.
And that's basically what had happened. They basically gave Annabelle permission to,
which was a terrible idea because
take, I guess, come in or whatever, possess this doll or be attached
and to
it.
live in their apartment with them,
Right.
as long as she's not doing anything super duper crazy.
And these nurses, God love them, weren't the smartest when it comes to paranormal. That is mistake number one.
Yeah.
Mistake number one. But then they started to humanize the doll as time go by.
Which is even worse.
I heard they even bought her a bracelet, which I don't know how. Raggedy Ann dolls were just mittens, basically. It looked like they had no fingers, just slide right off.
Yeah, it was basically tube socks with yarn for hair.
And they were asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Now, the one voice of reason, not to be chauvinistic, was the male version, or the male person in this. He immediately said this was a shitty idea.
Yeah, because you're giving it something permission to live in your home and interact with you. And then you're going to, like you said, humanize it. So you're just bringing more reality to something that you don't understand that ended up being super fucked up.
And this is where the story starts getting creepy. The gentleman, from the way I understand it, expressed his concern, expressed his displeasure about how this was not a very good idea.
Yeah.
I guess Annabelle got a spur in her panties.
Yeah, he was having him a little siesta one night, and
there's two versions of this story. You tell the version.
The version I know is that he was asleep, I believe, in a bed. Because I saw something that said couch, but it was one thing. But the majority of everything I saw was he was asleep in bed, and he woke up basically in a state of sleep paralysis. And he sees Annabelle climbing over the edge of the bed. And then Annabelle apparently, even though this doll doesn't have hands, doesn't have fingers, it's just nubs, strangled him.
Yes, was strangling him.
Yes. And then he passed out. And then woke up and nothing came of it. Like the doll wasn't there. And basically a grown man got choked out by a doll,
Raggedy Ann doll,
by a doll that was the basis of like 99% of the couple's Halloween costumes from 75 to 90.
Yes. Now I heard he started having some bad dreams. It didn't escalate to this right away. He started having some bad dreams, some bad feelings in the place. Now I've heard two different versions. Kind of heard your version that you just recited. Then I also heard I watched something with I forget his name, the Warren's son-in-law who runs their Hoax museum.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know him by name.
He's married to the daughter.
Yeah.
But he's pretty much in charge. Him and the daughter are in charge of the museum and I guess everything. I heard him tell the version of the story because it was a video about. There's a big thing. We talked about this too. Annabelle supposedly escaped her glass case.
Yeah.
And he was kind of going over that, which we can touch on that. We might do that in the...
This doll has fantastic
yes.
skills for not having hands or feet.
Or Houdini. She's a Houdini. But he was telling the story. He got the story. He did not know the Warrens. He had not met the Warrens. I think he met them 79, I believe is what he said. This happened either 68 or 70. So it was before... he knew them, so he was getting Ed Warren's version of the story, which, okay, you're getting it right from the horse's mouth. Yeah. So you think it'd be pretty good. But he explained it as the man just was having a dream. Annabelle never crawled up his leg. It was just a dream. But that was kind of, so I've heard both. I've heard it actually did try to strangle him. Yeah. And I think... he told a story, the one movement part of story, they had a breakfast nook, I guess. Yeah. And I'm sorry these girls never got laid, apparently, because they bring a Raggedy Ann doll to the table.
Yeah, right?
For eat breakfast with them.
Right? You're a grown-ass woman.
Get some dick, Jesus.
Get your shit together.
I guess they were eating, and Annabelle was sitting there, and she lifted her hands and put them on the table. That's what he said, which, okay, fine. That is when, well, that's not the thing that pushed them over the edge. Notes started being left in the house.
Which we also both have slightly differing.
Right. Now, and I think I know why, because I picked this up today when I watched The Conjuring just to kind of, this morning. I heard it was notes on parchment paper and written in pencil, help me, help us. Yeah. And
those are the only two things that I heard.
I even heard help Cal, and I think that was the name of the one source I was...
Well, maybe that's what she was doing. Maybe she was trying to help Cal or Kyle or whatever his name is, because clearly his girlfriend is frigid because they bring dolls to the table, and clearly he is not taking the one-way trip to Pound Town.
Exactly. So maybe she was just looking out for him, say, hey, you need to find you some new ass.
So I'm saying, like, how do we know? Like, you go pick up the Annabelle doll right now. Maybe there's a fleshlight in the Annabelle doll, and that's what was going on.
Maybe that's why Annabelle got so pissy. The girls were
Annabelle was machine washable.
Yes, but the parchment paper. These girls, and you heard crayon, right?
Yeah.
Now that's
I heard red crayon was the first thing I saw.
That was in the movie. That was in the movie. That's what they portrayed in the movie. Yeah. But these girls, and obviously they weren't too stupid because they immediately didn't jump to Annabelle was writing these notes. Right. They thought maybe the superintendent who has keys to the apartment was coming in and screwing with them. Yeah. Which, is legitimate. So I guess they kind of booby-trapped the place a little. Yeah. When all Macaulay Culkin home alone them. Yeah. And they could not prove, or there was no evidence that somebody was coming in. So where did the paper come from? Did Annabelle go down?
Well, yeah, and consider, because we talked about everything I saw, they said, we don't have parchment paper.
Now, the pencil thing, you don't have a pencil?
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a pencil? And this is 68 to 70. Yeah. Everybody had a pencil in the house. Yeah. Pens, yes, pens were around, but I wouldn't think they were as popular. I know.
Yeah, they probably weighed like 60 pounds. Yes.
But
like an old computer.
This is where things kind of get freaky and the girls start getting a little freaked out. So they contact a priest. Which, smart. I'll give them that.
Don't do that off rip when you got a doll moving around your house. Let's wait 6 months and let my boyfriend get choked out on the fucking bed by a doll.
Right. So the way I heard it, the priest who they went to had no experience with this type of stuff.
Who would?
Right.
Like,
So he knew the Warrens. And this is how the Warrens got.
Of course he did.
Got involved because that's what I guess a lot of their cases came from. They got cases this way, but so Ed and Lorraine Warren showed up and interviewed this couple.
Yep.
And this is, the bonus episode is going to be a little bit more about the Warrens, like I said, and we're kind of going to give our thoughts on what we think of the Warrens. Because, like we said, there is some questionable investigation techniques and concepts that need to be addressed.
I have every intention of addressing. We've talked about that. I have my opinions, and I will share them.
Yeah, and that will be on the bonus. So become a patron. Shameless plug.
Because I've already cussed more in this one than I did the last one. There's a reason why that conversation's going on Patreon. Because it's going to get real.
But the Warren's basically, the way I understood it, and even the son-in-law's recount kind of said the same thing. He didn't. The information that he gave kind of led me to believe this was pretty accurate. They just showed up and interviewed the 3 people, which is what's represented in the movie.
Yeah,
the very beginning of the movie when they're talking about the Annabelle story. That's pretty much all they did. They took these girls and this guy's at face value and basically said, "We'll take the doll off your hands." And that's it. Yeah. They did not investigate. They just took them at face value, and hence the
legend began.
And I'm sorry, that's no way to do it, because I'm not even a big believer personally in haunted dolls and attachment. I think attachment, how can I word this? Like, say if I had a doll, say I had a Raggedy Ann doll. I don't necessarily think, I'm not a big believer in there is a doll or a demon or a ghost or spirit inside that doll. Now, I think that it's kind of like how the story began with the little girl liked the doll, was lonely, and played with it.
Yeah, like obviously none of this is within the natural realm of possibility in our own minds. But I mean, I don't know if I buy into a doll becoming like a sentient being because it's possessed or whatever you want to call it. I think it's more of like a spirit finds something that it likes, and its attachment is that it likes it, and it just kind of uses as a tool for its communication that it can't do on its own.
Exactly. I mean, so to think that the doll or whatever demon, we'll use demon because that is Ed and Lorraine Warren opinion of this doll or what was inside this doll, is bound to this. I don't think so. If this demon is so powerful, it would not be bound to that.
Right. I don't think we're dealing with like the world's most adorable and cuddly Dybbuk box.
Right. But I think it might have, it, like you say, it uses this object or what the doll in this instance as kind of the trap.
Yeah. It's just like if a carpenter can get a job done with one hammer, he's going to have that hammer and he's going to use it all the time. So once that spirit finds that thing and it's able to get its point across or whatever you want to call it, it's just going to keep coming back to it.
Right. So I think I think that's what was going on with Annabelle. I don't think it's bound to that doll. I think it can go, if there is something attached to it, it can move around.
And also, my opinion, and this is kind of jokey and hokey, but I fully stand by this thought process. If I'm a demon and I'm going to attach myself, quote unquote, physically to an item to move myself around and get my point across and make myself known, why the shit would it be a Raggedy Ann doll? Why wouldn't you go to like the Smithsonian and quote unquote possess like one of those big ass T-Rex skeletons, like Night at the Museum, and then you just run around and fuck shit up?
We have Jurassic Park, real life.
That's what I'm saying. I would possess a tank or something. You know what I mean? Like not a doll.
Right.
That'd be like your dog. Like if Satan was like, "Yep, that's it. That's it."
That little shit is Satan.
I'll take your word for it. She's just kind of nice to me.
She's evil. But anyway, getting back, the Warrens took the doll. They just gave the doll, said, "Take it. Good luck."
Yeah.
And
which I will give the Warrens that. Even if they're full of shit, I will give them that. If something was going on, they were at least willing to take it off people's hands, which I guess if it's a real occasion. Good on you.
So the Warrens were taking this Raggedy Ann cute little doll who apparently strangles people with no fingers, no hands.
What a bitch.
Took this doll, put it in the car, and there's pictures of Lorraine holding this. I love it. It's, a black and white picture, but Raggedy Ann, Annabelle.
Yeah, like there's zero things ominous about it at all.
But they put it in the back seat and headed to their occult and what is it? The Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, the myth only grows now.
Yeah.
Apparently, Annabelle, Raggedy Ann, does not like cars.
No.
Or modes of transportation, because shit gets real with transportation with this doll. Apparently, Ed and Lorraine had car trouble. It would stall 2, 3. It stalled like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it wasn't like, I didn't see the movies, but they were talking about, I guess, they showed that scene in one of the, Annabelle movies or Annabelle Creation.
Yeah, I haven't sat down and watched one in so long.
Yeah. I guess they showed this scene, and it was like turned into a car wreck, but...
Naturally.
Hollywood kind of played it up a little bit.
Apparently, you got dolls choking people out. You might as well wreck your car, too.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. Trust me, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the car stalled, had some problems with the brakes,
mm-hmm.
and apparently, they felt a demonic presence in the car.
You just thought you were going to die because you didn't take your Plymouth to Valvoline on time. That's what happened, Ed.
But luckily, Ed was always prepared.
Yeah.
He had some holy water right there.
Why wouldn't you?
Splash some holy water. I mean, most men have condoms, but he had holy water. Smash that, splash the Raggedy Ann doll. Oh, one thing we didn't, we got to get to. I forgot, I missed it. The blood. The girls did come home and thought they saw blood
on the doll, on Annabelle's hands.
Red hands. So that's something. So things got creepy. Anyway, getting back to the story. They had car trouble. He splashed holy water, and all was good.
Yeah.
Took it back to the museum, which I think at the time was just their house. I think they have an actual location now.
Yeah, I remember because the first time I ever saw anything about it, it was basically like it looked like a converted garage or room in their home. Yeah.
And they basically just took Raggedy Ann, Annabelle Higgins, and just sat her on a rocking chair, I guess, or sat her on something, and left her there. Now, this demon, and that's one thing about the Warrens that I don't want to say don't like. Everything they come from the religious standpoint of the paranormal. Everything's about religion, and everything. If it's a poltergeist, it's any kind of hauntings. Everything's a demon. It's not that cut and dry. There's a lot more to this than just demons and heaven and hell.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we won't get into the opinions on religion, but I mean that's traditionally how it goes.
Right.
It's either one way or it's the other, and you're right or you're wrong.
Right. It's black and white to where I believe it's more gray. There's different shades of gray in there. So the myth of Annabelle just continues to spiral.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he had not put. It's well known that Annabelle's hidden behind a case now, a glass case, which, okay.
But, I mean, she can choke dudes out. She can't open a door.
And apparently that doesn't matter at this point.
Fucking lazy.
Annabelle, glass does not affect Annabelle. She has superpowers past that. But there's a story. Now we're going to get into the car version, how Annabelle hates cars.
Oh, yes, I like this one. This one is possibly the most interesting thing to me, even though it's horrifically happenstantial.
There's two occurrences that happen. And we'll talk about. We'll kind of do it in order because the most.
Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about.
The most popular one, that is the last one.
Yeah,
because it's been talked about, and they have played this one up because somebody actually did die. We'll go that route. The first one happened. Actually, there's 2 incidents with the car. The very first incident that I heard about was, I believe, a cop or a sheriff or a deputy came to visit.
Oh, yeah.
Came to visit and just talking, shooting the shit with the Warrens.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, hey, I heard you have this Annabelle doll. Can I see it? Now, if this doll was so dangerous in his mind, you just going, yeah, sure, come on, let's go take a look at it.
Right.
I'd say, no, maybe it would
see,
be a good idea.
And my thing with that is like, A, that, B, not a a good look for not making yourselves out to look like money grab people. If you, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Go on.
It's okay. We don't have to make sense.
I never do.
Who cares?
It's my talent.
At least you have one. I don't.
I have a couple.
This deputy, he took this deputy cop, whatever, down to look at it. But in the real story, the deputy, the phone rang, and Ed said, "I have to go upstairs.
I'm going to leave you here with with Annabelle
and all the other haunted things."
Yeah, because there's I don't know what it was like at this point in time. I don't know exactly when this happened, but like they had a lot of shit in there.
Right, 71. They started, I believe, in like 52.
Yeah, like they had, because I saw it on TV back in the day on some show, and like they had a lot of shit in that room.
But after he went upstairs to take this call, and I guess the way I kind of heard it, or it was explained, he come downstairs and the guy was white as a ghost. I mean, something happened.
Yeah, because you left him in a room with a demon doll.
He came upstairs, and naturally they said, What's wrong? Everything okay?" And he wouldn't say. He said, "I'll only tell her," referring to Lorraine. And Lorraine took him to another room, and that was it. Lorraine never told Ed what the guy said happened.
Yeah.
Which sounds nice.
See, and I hate how all this stuff get I don't know how to say it, like perfected, these stories, because like in my mind that's not how that went. In my mind, Ed comes back and the guy's in there looking terrified, and he goes, "Lorraine, something happened," and she's in the background, "I fucking told you so." Like,
right. So, and I believe the guy, maybe the story goes, maybe he did provoke a little bit or kind of question Annabelle's powers. Which,
yeah, because from everything I've researched, like basically if you even are in the room with this thing and you're like, "I don't think you can do it," she gets pissed off.
Right. So that's that first story. Now, later on, a priest comes by, stops by for a visit, bought a brand new car.
Yeah, but which is an important detail to this story if you want to like go down the road of this being fact.
Right. Shows up, said, "Hey, I just want to show you my new car. By the way, let me see this Annabelle doll everybody's been talking about." Sure. And at this point, Annabelle was not in the case yet. She was still,
like in a little chair or something.
Still just sitting there. And I guess this priest, being a holy roller, got a little big for his britches, picked up Annabelle, threw her in the corner and said, "No demon is as powerful as God," and kept repeating that. And Ed said, "I told you not to touch him or touch her."
Yeah.
And he kept saying, "No demon is as powerful as God." Well, very well true. No demon probably is as powerful as God, but he's powerful. She's more powerful than your ass. And apparently he left, said, "I'm out," and got in his car and ran down the road and apparently headed into a semi.
Yeah, because that happens.
It happens. And did not die. He lived. And he stated that the last thing he saw before he lost control of the car, he looked in the rearview mirror and saw Annabelle in the back seat.
Which I want to be a fly on the wall for that one too, because I want to see a holy man get real unholy when he looks in the rearview. What the shit? That would be fantastic.
Watch the blasphemy start flying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where you get the true colors. Your black and whites are coming off real quick in your brand new car because you work with the orange and you got Warrens and you got a blinged out rosary.
Be like the prayer on Eastbound and Down we just watched.
Yeah.
With Matthew McConaughey.
He said, "I fucking love you so much, God." You fucking rock, Jesus.
But that is, so... And actually, the story goes further. I guess, I believe the son-in-law was telling the story again. And apparently they were good friends with this priest. And
yeah.
Like I said, he did not die. I guess they were giving a lecture, which that's one way they made money.
Which I will interject, I feel like, to me, kind of decredits that person a little bit, because like
he's a little close to the
yeah
sees the inner workings. He's behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah,
but
well, go on.
The way he said it is, and they had the old projector, with the round thing project on whatever.
Yeah, it looks like
pictures.
Looks like a shitty old air filter on top.
Right. When it came to, they were talking about Annabelle. Had a picture of Annabelle up on the screen. He just looked down and would not look up
because it was a nude of Ed Warren.
No, it was not. It was Annabelle.
Spread eagle.
Whoops. Sorry. How'd that get in there? No.
Damn it, Lorraine.
Days before camera phones, when pornography was much harder.
When you just have to draw your dick and send it to your loved one.
Yes. But so that, that story, I'm not completely buying completely.
And that one's so, and it's just so minuscule. You know what I mean? It's just such a small detail. Like who knows? He looked down when the Annabelle picture. Yeah, maybe he had to sneeze. Or maybe he looked over and he saw. Never mind. That's too far.
Too far. Now, okay, so that's the first. The second one, which is the most famous one, it's been recounted, I believe, Ghost Adventures, one of their live Halloween things.
Wait, and because this one's
fairly recent.
Yeah, which I think is why it's so big, is since the creation of mass TV and all this shit where you can get this information, it happened.
I guess I should say after the priest incident is when he built the case and put "do not touch" under any circumstance in creepy font. Now, they run tours through this museum. And like I said, this next one is the most popular because, like I said, it's been probably, I think I heard it, they talked about it on Ghost Adventures at one of their live events. And the story's been recounted.
Yeah, because I think that may be where I saw the actual museum, quote unquote.
Like we said, it's fairly recent, but it was before 2006 because I think Ed died in 2006, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
I think so, but he was still alive because he kicked the guy out. Apparently, a guy and a girl were on this tour, and when it came to the Annabelle time, I guess the guy kind of was trying to get laid and was poking the bear a little bit.
Showing his ass a little bit.
And he called out Annabelle, said, "If you can do something, do it to me now." And naturally, Ed got a little pissy and kicked him out.
Yeah.
So he hopped on, an important fact, they hopped on the motorcycle, which motorcycles are dangerous, kids. But the girl lived. The man did die. But they ran into a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl testified or whatever, stated in her statement, said they were talking about Annabelle and kind of making fun of mocking the whole situation. And then they ended up running into a tree.
Which my other problem with that is, why were you talking about how you think Annabelle's bullshit? You weren't talking about the fact that your hard-ass boyfriend is over here tough-talking a doll behind a glass case.
Yeah.
You're like, we're going to talk about this when we get home, Sandra, June, Joe, Bob.
Yeah.
You get off my back.
But now, whether either one of these accidents happen, is it just coincidence that they happen to be?
Yeah, and see, and that's where the curiosity comes in, and everything kind of, I don't want to say adds up, but like, even if you don't believe in this stuff, because I'm very on the edge of, like, I want to believe in this doll because like it's it's kind of cool.
It's fun. It's cool.
But like, even though like I don't believe in it in the way that it's being portrayed in film and stuff like that.
Right.
There might be something going on with the doll. It might be being used, like I said, to try to get a point across or to try to make presence known. But when you have all this shit just adding up and piling up around one thing, you're bound to have people that dominoes are going to start to fall, pieces, like puzzle pieces are going to be put in the right places, and then people's minds are going to start working, and next thing you know, it's reality. Right. It's fact. The doll choked me out. It killed my biker boyfriend. I don't know. It tried to sodomize a priest in his car. Whatever,
Yeah, but apparently, and I have a story. It's story time. I will share. Apparently, haunted dolls, or dolls with attachments, do not like cars, and I have experience with this.
Do you think they don't like cars, or do you think they just don't like moving?
I don't know.
Because ghosts and spirits from my experience and everything I've heard from everybody else, do not like to be disturbed in what they know and do.
That's very I mean, it's very possible. I don't know. But I did have an experience with a car and a supposed haunted doll.
Mm-hmm.
I've done episodes about the haunted dollhouse in Greenburgh, Indiana. And this...
I would enjoy going. I'll freak out because I can't stand those porcelain face dolls.
I don't think they do it. I think they had to close it down. Because
people were getting choked out.
No, I think they had some legal issues.
Because people got choked out.
No, I think should I say tax issues?
Oh.
I think the IRS got a little pissed.
God damn it, Annabelle. You're just out here screwing everybody.
And I've probably even told you the story. Remember I was telling you about, I walked into a room and just felt, was it last week I told you? I felt nauseous. In that one room.
Yeah. I think we talked about it on the last episode because we were just talking about how you just get, your body reacts to stuff even if your mind can't fathom it.
I walked into this room. I was nauseous. I felt heavy. It felt like I believe I said, it felt like gravity was heavier in that room I was pulling down. Well, it didn't last all night, and there was dolls in every room. And paranormal.
Did they do an episode of Ghost Adventures on that house?
I don't think so.
I just keep getting. I remember seeing just rooms full of dolls in one of their episodes.
They did something. It was out west, I think.
Which, while we're on the subject, I think they're full of shit too. Go on.
They are, but that's beside the point. That's a topic for another day.
We can do a fucking 24-hour live stream of us talking shit about that.
Yes, I think it was a hotel. I remember an episode where Zach went to a hotel, and I guess across the street or attached to the hotel was a doll shop.
Yeah,
and apparently, Big Bad Zach, I love Demon Zach, is afraid of dolls. And they made a whole
with his affliction shirts and his rhinestone jeans.
Yes, and his nice neck tattoo.
And his overly huge frame glasses that he wears now.
Hey, he had a problem.
The
demon house. He was seriously injured.
I mean, even if it's not paranormal, and I'll give him that. Apparently, he did have a serious medical condition. Your glasses are fine.
You still look like a dick. Anyway,
can we do a whole podcast and talk like him? The Annabelle doll was believed to be possessed by a demon. Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'll do it. I'm doing the whole next episode like that.
We can do that. But anyway, getting back to my story. This, it had a bunch of dolls. We had some activity there. There's a ghost box. We got Satan on the ghost box. So there was some weird shit going on.
Like the word Satan?
The word Satan on the ghost box.
That's good.
There's videos.
It was a good grab. Like, legitimately, it is a good grab, but like that's definitely not what I want to hear come through it.
I've heard it a couple times, but, anyway. We got some activity. One of the members that was there, psychic medium, had some special abilities. We were in one room. He felt something evil, demonic after the Satan. No, it might have been before we got Satan on the ghost box. In the kitchen, and naturally my heroic hot said, well, let's go. And they said, be careful when you go in there. That'll be all right.
Phil investigates an assless chaps.
Yes, I do. Nobody wants to see that shit. But I went into nothing. I did. This just got awkward real quick.
It was awkward when I got here.
But, nothing really spectacular. I mean, I didn't see any apparition.
Excuse me.
I didn't see any apparitions. Not a lot. We had some interesting EVP type stuff, but I couldn't confirm it because there's a road outside, which place makes things a little bit more difficult.
The number one, what's the word? Like interference. There's always a road.
Yeah, I like to use the word contamination.
Yes, that's a perfect word. It's literally, I swear, it's always traffic.
So it wasn't, concise on what we had. I don't know what we had. I just had what I felt in that room and what we kind of got on Ghost.
Which can be, like, you can follow that and trust that a lot more than a lot of other shit.
I trust that more than, that's why I know there was something there. Not the Satan in the ghost box, because that can be anything. Everybody heard it, so, pareidolia is a little off the table a little bit. We all heard the exact same thing, and it was, like I said, there's a video on YouTube about it. I think I even played the actual footage of that when we got it. If I'm not mistaken, I'll go back and look. But anyway, I got in the car to leave. We were done for the night. Started the car. It was in the wintertime.
Oh yeah, you did tell me.
It was the wintertime, and it was a newer car. It was an Equinox. I didn't want to drive my old beat up truck to Indiana.
Right.
And get stranded. So I drove the Equinox, and sitting there, everybody starts to pull out. I put my hand on the... Get your mind out of the goddamn gutter. I put my hand to put it in gear, and the car just stopped, went dead. Turned off, lights turned off, everything. I'm like, mother...
Oh, the electric turned off?
Everything turned off.
Huh. That's weird.
So naturally, I, turned the key, fired right up, and everybody I was with had already left in their car. So I, and then we were going to a gas station because I was hungry. Everybody, party outside. That we were going meeting at a gas station because I needed to get something to drink, and because like 3 o'clock in the morning,
right?
Give me.
You got to get a hot dog off the roller grill that's been there since June.
Yes, and just get some caffeine in me and roll out.
So you don't go Catholic priest with Annabelle on your way home.
No, I did not. So I it's fired right up, put it in gear, and went to, and didn't have any problems. But that was about an hour drive. I was like, what the hell's going on for about an hour?
Especially in that scenario, because you have that whole hour by yourself to just sit there and be like,
3 o'clock at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, not a lot of traffic.
Right.
I'm like, shit, what the hell was that? And it never happened again.
Right.
It was just a one-time thing. Mm-hmm. Now
and the fact that the electrical components of the car also turned off, that's weird.
Maybe I should have looked up. Maybe there was a UFO above me. Very possible. But if I remember correctly,
E.T. Eddie Torres, the extra testicle.
Because a lot of those type places like that, they do a walkthrough if you want. They'll kind of give you the backstory of what's going on.
Yeah, the touristy side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of like to do that stuff. There's a lot of people that want to go in blank slate. I kind of like to know, cause that way I kind of directs me in a way to take the investigation.
Yeah, like I want to go in. I want to go in blank and blind if it's like a place nobody knows about and I've never heard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like then I don't want you filling my head with this or that.
Right.
But if it's something like
I say both.
Trans-Allegheny stuff like that, like anybody that's in this world and likes this shit knows what's going on.
So I believe there was actually another incident where maybe it was a car wreck. Don't quote me on this, or car trouble from somebody else experienced that kind of stuff. So maybe there's something about haunted dolls and cars.
Well, and I mean, we'll get into it on the Patreon portion, but I mean, the car troubles seem to follow the Warrens as well, which the one argument I've heard that does kind of, I don't want to say lend credit to, but like make a little bit of sense about that is that, and I kind of fuck with this idea, is the Warrens may very well have had the same thing, whatever you want to call it, messing with them, because it was them. It wasn't where they were going all the time. I saw a very compelling story about it might be the Warrens that had a specific something that didn't like them and went pretty much everywhere they went.
It was attached to them.
Yes.
And they took it like luggage.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be the doll. It's just like that.
It was the paranormal version of herpes.
Yeah. Well, it was just like that. I put that meme on the Instagram, and I stand by it. Yeah. It's not everybody. Everybody wants to have the cop out of having an item or a location, and it's not always that. It can very well be you or me. So
that is the story basically of Annabelle. Now, let's.
Oh, do we want to touch real quick on the transportation of Annabelle? Did you watch that? They live streamed it.
The transportation? No.
When they moved her from their home to the new location.
No, but I want to get into when they took it to Ghost Adventures.
Yes,
I want to get into that because there's some.
It might all be that. Because I just know they moved her and they live streamed it, and like the guy was basically wearing like oven mitts. Yes, and I'm like, dude, what the shit are you like? I got a haunted doll. I got to move, honey. You got those mainstays oven mitts that we got from Walmart from our wedding,
tongs.
Whatever. Dude, that's what I'm saying. Tongs would make more sense.
No, but
she should get a forklift.
Because I guess whatever I think his name's Tony something or other is.
The son-in-law.
Yeah,
yeah. You know more about him than me.
They took Annabelle out to
excuse me.
Out to
promise I don't have coronavirus.
Out to Las Vegas to Zach's museum, and they were doing, I think, one of the live. Maybe it was a Halloween thing.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, they got a beef now.
He's got beef with several people. He's got because they did the same thing with a location that had a Dybbuk box, and I don't know if he opened it or if he like messed with it, and they were not happy with it.
Yeah. And we can get to beef. And this, I'll be honest, this is one beef I might actually side with. First time in my life, side with old Mr. Baggins.
I actually agree with you.
I think his name's Tony, whatever his name is. He's kind of a dick.
He bought a fucking first class plane ticket for him and the doll.
He made them, but he made Ghost Adventures
for the doll.
For the doll, first class.
Because Annabelle's a classy broad, and she can't fucking fly coach with all the regular people.
Here's my issue with this whole story. If Annabelle is as powerful as that, she fucks with cars, right?
Mm-hmm. You're going to get on a fucking plane with her?
Exactly. You were,
stupid. Like,
send her UPS. I'll meet her there. I ain't taking her sitting there next to me on a plane. Fuck that.
No, it's fine. Annabelle's powers only affect internal combustion engines. That's
jet fuel, jet engines, you're fine. Now, if you're one of them prop planes, you might have a problem.
Or if you're in an old Mazda with a rotary motor.
Yes. But you really, I would not take that doll. I would not get on a plane with that.
Hell no.
But apparently, I don't remember seeing the episode.
Yeah, if you're going to transport her, you put that bitch in a buggy with an Amish person.
Right.
Meet them there in 2 weeks, like the Oregon Trail, after they get syphilis and
has a bout of
consumption.
Cannibalism halfway across. But apparently, Zach got a little aggressive with Annabelle. Got a little close. Maybe even touched her without the magic of admits.
And he got all pissed off, and I'm like, dude, like, what did you expect? That was the point of the whole thing. They didn't want you to bring this doll just so you could sit and stare at the fucking thing.
And they do, and they do push the boundaries a little bit. They're not, but
because I actually do. Yes, it makes for good TV. I enjoy how much they go and provoke and try to trigger things. Like it makes for good TV.
Right, it's good TV. I personally don't recommend it.
Especially in the right circumstance.
And, if you're just an average Joe investigator, and not entertaining.
Yeah, if you're going into a children's hospital and like putting a rubber ball and a teddy bear on the ground, like whatever. I mean, but don't go into the
I wouldn't mind that,
corral and shoot off a fucking gun.
I mean, I just don't don't say, "Come on, demon, come at me," kind of shit, or show me what you got.
Right. The only time I can see that is like I get the reaction or reactionary ones like that.
Or I picture Rocky in Rocky 3 and the second fight. He ain't so bad.
Yeah.
That's I don't recommend somebody doing that unless you know what you're doing,
or you're ready to deal with what might happen.
You're ready to face the consequences and be all right with it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I personally break a lot of rules just because I want to test the boundaries, see where I can go. I mean, I've used Ouija boards, and I've not closed them properly.
Does something happened and you freak out a little bit?
No, not because
you just did it just
to see, because they say if you don't close it properly, it doesn't
close the portal.
Right. And I've used the name of the demon that is supposedly comes with the Ouija board. I believe it's
Zozo.
Oh, you see, now we're fucked now.
I have no problem. I'll say it. But I'll say Zozo, Baal, Beelzebub, Behemoth. Like, I don't give a shit.
I personally don't. I'm a big believer in, they don't necessarily have as much power as they think over us.
I think people exactly. I think people. Okay, so we'll get into this one real quick because
we are running.
Do they have that? They can. But I think a lot of it is people go into these situations and they're just like the girls that were cool with Annabelle, staying in their apartment and nocturnal emitting their boyfriend. Some people are just too open and too willing for that shit, and it's like they want it because it gives them something to talk about, and it's not the entity immediately that's fucking you over. You're doing it to yourself. Because that's why I don't mind. I'll say all those names and shit. I'll go into these places because people think I'm crazy. But in my mind, you're going to have to do a shitload of work to take me over, bud. Because I believe in all this stuff to a very particular point.
Right.
And all that stems from and is wrapped around me. I know me, and I know what's inside me. And you're going to have to try really hard to get inside me, but only if you're a ghost.
Yes. There's way too many sexual overtones in this
Doctors
podcast,
over 35.
But there is something to it. If you, from what I've noticed and what I've experienced, if they only go after the weak.
Yeah.
That's kind of mean to say. So if you've been possessed, there's no way around it because you're weak.
Yeah.
Or have, not necessarily weak, but have issues. And like the Lost episode that I aired Thursday,
mm-hmm.
That I was at a very vulnerable, very
we've talked about that
weakened state.
Yeah.
And if something was going to take over me, or something was going to, attach to me, or
it would have been at a time like that.
It would have been a time of that because I was at a weakened state.
Because when you're in that moment, like you're almost going to accept it because you just want to feel something other than what you're feeling.
Right. But maybe I'm just that much of a badass that knew it was only a matter of freaking time before I was going to come back.
Right.
But I've always said, demon doesn't want to get inside my head. I don't even want to be inside my head. I mean, that's a danger. He'd probably, if a demon got in me, he said, "Oh, fuck."
You know what it'd be like? Have you ever seen Scary Movie 2?
No.
There's a scene.
I have a life. I'm sorry.
There's a scene where they go into this haunted. It's a spoof of Haunting or House on Haunted Hill.
Right.
And there's a scene where this fucking dude goes into his room and there's this like full size human sized doll of a clown, and the doll ends up like dragging him under the bed, and then you hear him and he's like, ah, and then he's like, wait, what? And then the clown comes out like, ah, and you see this big fake dick come and wrap around his neck and pull him back in. That's what happens when demons get into our heads.
All right, we are running a little long. We're going to get off here and go to the Patreon episode bonus, or continue the conversation on Patreon. So if you want to find out what we talk about, and let's be honest, we're probably going to give our true, honest, unfiltered versions or opinions of Ed and Lorraine Warren, what we think about them, and what we think about Annabelle. I think everybody kind of got the point of what we think about Annabelle in the past hour.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, interesting and coincidental, but it is, take it with a grain of salt, just like anything else that you see in the world is paranormal that you don't experience with your own heart and eyes and ears.
Right. So head on over to Patreon, and it's patreon.com/GITN Podcast. Sign up for the as low as $2 membership, and you will get the bonus episodes that we are getting ready to record. We're just going to keep recording. We're going to end the live stream version of this, and this is what is going to be on the podcast feed, but we are going to keep shooting the shit and talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren. So just go to patreon.com/GITN Podcast and join all you have to do is join the $2 level, and you'll get it. Now, there are free versions of all the episodes that are up there as well, so you can go there and watch all the videos for the podcast. Like I said, there's 100 and some odd plus episodes up there. But don't forget, go to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com Ghost in the Night.
I'm trying to get that play button plaque.
I'll be dead before we get that, because even though, hey, we did get 2 new subscribers. We got another one yesterday. Hot damn.
Was it the...
No, we got another one.
Nice.
I showed you, we're at 286, I believe, now. Yes, I know I said 286. It's sad, but fuck off, all of you. But we were at 284. We got 285 who sent the comment, the thumbs up that I showed you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we have to give a shout out to
who? Everybody?
The girls at the bar.
All of them?
I owe Sam big.
Yes.
I owe Sam big.
So you can have that one.
Sam,
I shout out Sydney. So.
You shout out Sydney. Sam's getting a shot because she took my drunk ass home last night.
Yes, she did. Without even question. Like, just instantly, yeah.
Well, she offered. She said, "You're going to stay."
It's on her way home, too.
Yeah, she said, "You're going to stay till close?" I said, "I don't know. I got to drive home. So I better not stay till close." She goes, "We'll get you home." I was like, "Well, okay, then." About if we're getting close, I looked at it. I said, I was at that point.
Yeah.
Because you quit. Like, you were responsible. You quit. I was like, well, I'm going to either have to quit or I'm going to have to see if Sam was serious about getting me a ride home.
Yeah.
And I said, Sam, if I continue to drink, will you give me a ride home? She said,
well, yeah, because she asked if you wanted another, and you said, well.
Right.
Well.
She said, no, I got you. I said, okay, then I'll have another. Now, granted, of course she's going to say yes because she got an extra probably $10 from me, but God love her. She didn't have to do that. How many bartenders do you even know?
Oh, those girls are giving me rides home when I didn't even buy a drink.
And I even said, this is so freaking embarrassing. We got in the car. I said, I'm so sorry. This is so freaking embarrassing. She said, don't worry about it. I said,
I'll say we both know Sam.
So she dropped me off. I said, thank you. Be safe. And I owe her big time.
So, yeah, shout out to Sam. Shout out to Sydney.
For the new Patreon.
Yes. Sweetest human being in the world. Love your face. Shout out to Nikki.
Yes. Nikki was...
The old Nikki Six slanging them drinks.
Yes. So that was my story last night. It got ugly real quick. It was one of those that snuck up on me.
I noticed.
I was fine, and I went up to use the bathroom, and whoa, the room was like.
It's funny. Once you stand up, that's usually when it comes to get you.
Maybe I should have remained seated. I'd be all right. So we have to actually end this podcast and do the bonus, and then we got to go get my freaking car.
And I got to go to work.
And he's got to go to work. So that's why we're recording early. So
sorry,
it happens.
It's my fault.
It's okay.
It's always my fault.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe.
That's what my mom said.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast feed, become a YouTube subscriber as well. Anything you can do to help grow this podcast would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget about like I said, the Patreon. And for those people who are listening to the podcast through the week, it'll be out on Monday. If you want to catch the live version, we do those on Sunday, generally at 6 o'clock. We had to do it early today because Travis had to get to work. But that is facebook.com/ghostinthenight, all one word.
And while we're on the subject, and it's on my mind, all the social medias will be in the descriptions for everything.
Yes.
If you are following on Instagram, I realized it, haven't done it yet, but there is a bad link to a old website on the Instagram. I am changing that.
I thought I should.
You may have. I know I didn't.
Have to look. Right. It's the old.
I'll make sure that it's updated one way or the other.
It'll be anchor.fm/Phillips-Sams. That's basically what I'm using as the new website. Eventually, we're going to do a new website once things get rolling and we get a few.
We're waiting for a call back from Jeff Bezos for funding.
Yeah, that ain't happening. I'll just take get about 3 or 5 more Patreon subscribers, and we'll open up another website. But yeah, that is the website for the podcast feed, and that is where you can play it through Anchor or whatever. And also, there's a feature that I haven't really worked on, or I know it's there, is you can leave me a message from that website. It says leave a message, and we can actually put that into, it's like a little voicemail. So if you have a comment, you want to say, we're a bunch of assholes, that's fine. Or just have an experience, you can leave a message. I don't know how long, like I said, maybe I'll try it just to experiment with it one time. But we can play that message in the podcast feed. We can do it live. I have to do a few workarounds. But if you want to leave us a message, go to anchor.fm/Philip, 2 L's, -Sams. So thank you for joining, and we will see you next week. Put him on the spot.
I don't know. I got to find an outro.
You got to find an outro. Thanks for joining.
Annabelle's into BDSM. That's my outro.
We're out.
Bye, guys.